It's time for From the Shortgrass, presented by UAMS Health Orthopedics and Sports Medicine with Trey Schaap. A golf podcast for those who love golf, struggle with golf, and just like to enjoy the outdoors and fellowship with friends, all while chasing a ball around, trying to put it in a 4 1/4 inch diameter hole. From the Shortgrass is presented by UAMS Health Orthopedics and Sports Medicine, and brought to you by Stevens Incorporated, an independent financial services firm with the freedom to focus on what matters most. Beechwood Pinnacle Hotels. We partner with you to deliver high-yield results by managing, developing, and investing in top-quality hospitality assets. And now, from the Shortgrass, here's your host, Trey Schaap.
Welcome to another edition of From the Shortgrass, presented by UAMS Health Orthopedics and Sports Medicine. I am your host, Trey Schaap. At UAMS Health Orthopedics and Sports Medicine, they are dedicated to keeping you in the game. From sports injuries to joint replacement, they provide world-class care right here at Arkansas. Call 501-686-TOSH to schedule your appointment today and get back to living pain-free. Coming up on this edition of From the Shortgrass, I sit down with former Razorback, PGA Tour member Deane Pappas. Currently the PGA professional at Cooper's Hawk Golf Club in Melbourne, not Australia, Arkansas. There's an interesting story about how Deane found his way from South Africa to the United States and the University of Arkansas, and you're going to hear it in this episode. We have to move fast, so after this break, Deane Pappas will join me.
Heading to El Dorado to check out some live music or to play Mystic Creek? Stay at the Haywood, the only boutique hotel in the middle of downtown and the Murphy Arts District. If you are spending a weekend in Hot Springs, make plans now at the Marriott Courtyard close to Lake Hamilton and Oaklawn. Beechwood Pinnacle Hotel Group manages both of these fine properties, and you will rest easy knowing that your every need is taken care of. Beechwood Pinnacle Hotels on the web at bphotels.com.
Strength is measured not by the number of accounts. Strength is placing value on relationships. It's having the vision and the guts to invest in growth. It's the commitment to responsibly manage your money. At Stevens, we believe that our strengths build success, not only for us, but for our clients. Stevens, member NYSE, SIPC.
It's Justin Acree. If you're dealing with back or neck pain, the Orthopedic and Spine Hospital at UAMS Health is here to help. Whether it's neurosurgery, orthopedic surgery, sports medicine, or pain management, their experts have you covered with the latest technology and minimally invasive techniques. They're focused on reducing your pain, improving mobility, and getting you back to doing what you love. Call 501-686-TOSH to set up an appointment today. That's 501-686-8674. The doctor will see you now.
Welcome back to this edition of From the Shortgrass, presented by UAMS Health Orthopedics and Sports Medicine. I am your host, Trey Schaap. Beechwood Pinnacle Hotel Group. Hey, the Haywood down in El Dorado. When you want to go play Mystic Creek, make it a couple of days of playing Mystic Creek. You can't get just one day of it. Stay at the Haywood in El Dorado, downtown El Dorado. You will be glad you did. Matthew Allen and Blair Allen, they know how to manage hotel properties. Deane Pappas, born in Phalaborwa, South Africa. It's a long way from the United States and Arkansas. Deane Pappas graduated from the University of Arkansas, turned professional in 1992, has 5 professional wins to his credit, and played in the 2010 United States Open. Pappas and his younger brother Brendan in 2001 became the first brothers to graduate simultaneously to the PGA Tour by finishing in the top 15 on the what was then called the Buy.com Tour money list. On the tee, Deane Pappas. Deane, thanks for joining me on this edition of From the Shortgrass. So when did you first pick up a golf club?
Well, probably when I was about 5 or 6 years old. You know, my dad would take us out on the weekends or maybe just on a Sunday morning. And, we'd go out, me and 2 of my brothers, my dad and my mom. And we just kind of a little family outing. And, you know, at the time when I was 6, so Craig and my eldest brother is 8 years older than I am. So he was already full into playing golf. You know, small town. It was a copper mine town, and they built the golf course for the mining people, but people in town could join the club. So grew up at the golf course, basically.
So you were basically born into a golfing family.
Yes. I guess the gene pool comes from my grandmother's side. My 4 granduncles or grandfather and his brothers were professional golfers. Sid Bruce, being the best of those 4, won the South African Open numerous times, and I think he's finished second in the British Open, was his best finish in the British Open. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's a golfing family there when you can do that. I mean, that close to the claret jug. How about that?
Yeah.
So when did you really decide, okay, I want to try and make this something? I want to try and compete at this. Was it a young age?
It was pretty young, I guess. We played pretty much all sports at school, junior school, which goes through 7th grade in South Africa. I mean, we did track and field, soccer, cricket. What else we do? Swimming. So we played which I believe is good just to get the hand-eye coordination. But my dad always said, he said, look, I don't care what you guys want to do. He said, just let me know when you figure out what you want to do, and I'll show you the best way to get there, regardless of what it was. He was kind of a Renaissance man. Had done a lot of sport himself, baseball. He was actually a singer in a band, acrobatic pilot, South African rally driver, 3 times champion.
Daredevil.
Yeah. So he had the adrenaline junkie.
Yeah.
And I guess when we started our second generation of the family, you know, I had 2 older sisters and an older brother, and my mom put a stop to all of that.
You didn't put up you didn't try to take up the acrobatic pilot side of it?
Yeah, he wanted to go to the Air Force, and we had an uncle that died in the war in North Africa, and so they would only, if any family member had died in the war, they wouldn't let any others join in. So
really?
He wasn't allowed into the Air Force, so he kind of just did his own thing.
So were you self-taught, or did you have some instruction in the game of golf?
Basically, my dad would teach us our swing. You know, he just tried to keep us best. He knew what was a decent golf swing. So he made us chip a lot by ourselves. So we figured that out pretty much by ourselves. And he wouldn't let us hit balls unless he was watching. He didn't want us to develop bad habits. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, that's kind of how we grew up. But I think my dad's best was he's taught us some good mental, goal settings, good way to do affirmations on seeing yourself succeed. So I think at about 13 years old, I decided to quit everything else and play golf. So from that point on, I was under his tutelage, and it was a lot of short game. We had to chip 300 balls before we could go out on the golf course.
That's a lot.
Yeah. So we had a bag of 50 balls. You had to throw them out 6 times and chip.
Yeah.
And so we spent a lot of time playing, just learning the game by ourselves, basically. And then when he got off work, we'd hit some balls on the range afterwards. So that was kind of the program, and it worked out. 4 of us played professional golf, and 2 got to the PGA Tour.
Yeah, not bad at all. Not bad at all.
Yeah.
I want to talk about growing up in South Africa. And did you look to Gary Player at all?
Well, he was an inspiration, for a lot of South African players. I took from him basically working out was one of the biggest things I took from Gary Player. He's always been a smaller guy. I think he figured he had to work out to be strong, to be able to compete against people that were bigger than him. And playing a lot of sports and stuff, we were in pretty good shape, and I continued to work out. And when I got out of college, I think I might have been the only college student that worked out.
Yeah.
And it showed on my length. I was hitting the ball way further than any college players.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, basically we grew up hitting it as hard as you could. It didn't matter if it went in the fairway or not. You just had to be the furthest off the tee.
Hit it and go find it and hit it again. What about
pretty much?
What about growing up in the same time? And you were telling me earlier before we started recording that you and Retief Goosen kind of teamed up at times.
Yeah. We lived in the same state or the same district. So we had 4 districts to each state, and those districts would play against each other, and then they would choose a state team to play against the other states. So that's where Goose and I grew up playing a lot of junior golf together. Also did a lot of competing against Ernie Els. He was whipping my ass back then, so nothing changed.
Did he still have that easy swing that everybody sees? They call him Big Easy.
Yeah. Ernie, when I first met him, I started playing on the junior tour over there, which during school holidays, we played quite a few tournaments in Johannesburg. And, Ernie was a small little kid. He couldn't barely reach most of par 4s in 2. But, I think that helped develop his short game. Mm-hmm. And, then all of a sudden he sprung up to about 6-something and never looked back after that.
Yeah, he wasn't that short off the tee anymore after that, was he? I mean, length kind of played a role there. The golf course that you grew up playing, what was it like?
It was a pretty decent course, They had a Sunshine Tour event there when I was growing up, so I got to see our professionals come over once a year. And then when I was 16 years old, our club champion got to play in the Sunshine Tour event there. And I won the club champs when I was 16, so I got to play in the event, made the cut.
Were you the youngest to ever make the cut in that event at 16?
Yeah, I think so. And that was the year Phil Allen won the tournament. So I spent a lot of time with Phil Allen over here in the U.S. playing on tour and stuff. So
let's discuss how you got to Arkansas, the University of Arkansas. How did that come about?
Well, my oldest brother, I think, may have been one of the first foreigners to come and play college golf here back in, I got to think now, maybe around 80. Mm-hmm. My uncle set him up at Ohio State, got him to walk on, and the coach said he'd give him a scholarship if he made it, and he made it. And then my next brother, Sean, came over and played in the junior world. He got a bunch of offers, and Arkansas being one of them. And my older brother said, don't come to Ohio State. Ohio State wanted him as well. And he's like, it's too cold up here. Go further south.
Yep.
And I think Steve Lloyd fed him a bunch of bull about it not getting cold in Arkansas. But anyway, so he came to Arkansas, and I followed suit, and my younger brother too. So we all 3 played at Arkansas.
Yeah, 3 Pappas brothers, all at Arkansas. When you got to Arkansas, were you happy that you made that decision?
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I love the people, and that's kind of why, I've stayed. Besides the time I spent in Orlando, kind of as soon as I retired, I really wanted to move back. I've always loved Arkansas, loved the people.
What were those teams like at Arkansas when you were there? I mean, some of the characters on that team. John Daly.
Yeah, John, special fella.
You and him have any long drive contests?
Yeah, I mean, John was playing many tours, and then when he wasn't playing, he'd come back to town and stay with me and my brother. So besides having some good times on the golf course, we had some late nights learning how to drink Jack Daniels, I guess. But I'll give him one thing. He hadn't changed over all those years. John stayed John.
Were you surprised when he won the PGA?
No, not really. He had been to South Africa for a couple of years and won 2 or 3 times over there where, we knew he was a special talent. And then I guess that golf course just set up so good for him where he could cut the corners, and so it was a big advantage for him. And John was never afraid once he got in the lead. So, you know, I wouldn't say we were surprised that he won. We were happy. You know, obviously it was nerve-wracking for us as it was for him, but just watching a buddy do it, you know, kind of gave us a little reinforcement too that it's possible.
Deane, when did you know that you wanted to try and make golf a career and compete and try and make it to the PGA Tour?
I made that decision when I was 13 years old that I was going to stop playing everything else and focus just on golf. So I told my dad that's what I wanted to do. So he got on me from that point on. And, you know, my whole plan, you know, and I had even my golf coach at high school, you know, asked me one day, he goes, well, what are you going to do with your life? And I said, well, I'm going to go play on the PGA Tour. And he goes, well, that's ridiculous. I said, what are you talking about? He says, do you know how few players make it to the PGA? I said, yeah. And he said, well, you need to have other plans. I said, I don't have other plans. I want to play the PGA. And he goes, well, we'll see about that. So
after you made it to the PGA Tour, did you call him up and say, hey, look at me now?
You know, we remain good friends still to this day. And I used to go back and play in South Africa too, and I won the PGA Tour over there, and he came and celebrated that evening. You know, we had a party at the club that night, and so, yeah, you know, he said pretty amazed.
I would say so. Yeah, I mean, but it's almost like, yeah, you look at the odds, but if you believe in yourself,
yeah,
and you set your mind to it, I think you can accomplish what you set your mind to.
You know, and I didn't take it as, you know, he was just trying to tell me, you know, as an older person, he was just trying to tell me, don't put all your eggs in one basket. And to me, I only had one egg, and that was the PGA Tour. So, you know, and I learned mistakes from older guys, things not to do. Stuff I saw on the Sunshine Tour, you know, guys out there partying, you know, and I had my fun. But when it was time to do your work and be focused about what you were doing. So for me, it was a year-round project every year. It took me a long time to get to the tour. I got there at age 29. So when I came, 10 years from when I got over to United States. So, well, not too bad, I guess.
Did you ever think, Deane, you might not make it to the PGA Tour?
Yeah, I mean, you know, not for long though. You have some disappointments along the way, but I'm always managed to keep my head above water. I never felt like I was drowning at any point. I stayed ahead, always making enough money to get me to the next year. So slowly, I learned how to play, and I think that was a big part of it. I just, you know, I always felt like I was as good or better than all the guys I was playing with, but yet they were beating me. So I had to learn how not to waste shots, and it took a while. Late bloomer.
Yeah. When you decided that, okay, I'm done chasing the PGA Tour, trying to either go week to week or month to month with it, and you're in Orlando, you decided to move back to Northwest Arkansas in Fayetteville. Why?
Well, that was just my stomping grounds right there, you know. Still knew a lot of people. I loved that area. And there was opportunities for me after golf that I guess my name still meant something in Fayetteville, so I didn't have to do as much work on that side as trying to promote myself. You know, the Pappas name had been there for so long that I felt like that would be a good place for me. Plus the fact that I'd lived there for 9 years, you know, through college and the first few years of playing professional golf. And yeah, so I sat around for a few months trying to figure out what I was going to do. And then, you know, it just dawned on me, you spent your whole life doing one thing. Why don't you just keep doing that? There's no use in trying to learn something different. So I started an academy, mainly for juniors, but, you know, did a lot of teaching for members at the different golf courses around the area.
It's that one egg.
Yeah, that's it. And one of the guys up there was a headhunter for big companies, and somebody said, just go talk to him and see what he says. And he was the one that told me, he said, look, man, you've spent your whole life doing one thing. What do you want to go and start trying to do something else? He said, that's what you know. You're really good at it. He said, so think about that. So I did, and, I started the academy.
What do you see in people that are starting the game of golf, the mistakes that they make? What's one of them that just over the airwaves you can correct without even seeing them?
As far as the juniors are concerned, I taught a lot of the kids, that I had in my class up there, and all of them made it to pretty good colleges. So that was good to see that my teaching technique, and not that it's all about the swing. For me, it's a lot about the short game and a lot about the mental. My dad hammered that down on us day in and day out. And I think that's the biggest thing. And I still today, over here teaching some high school kids, and I guess they just don't practice their mental as hard as they need to. Mm-hmm. You got to work on your brain as much as you got to work on your physical. So that's the biggest thing I see.
When did you decide to leave the academy and obviously member of the PGA, become a club professional?
Yeah, that was a weird deal. A buddy of mine called me up, Richard Johnson. We played on tour together. And he said, hey, my boss has bought a club in Jonesboro, and he's looking for somebody like me that's got teaching skills, that's played on the PGA. And he said, why don't you come over and have a look? He said, at the time he was having to run both clubs, mm-hmm. and they were a good 3 hours apart. So he was ready for somebody.
Yeah, no doubt.
Anyway, I drove up there and I met Jim Cooper. Loved Jim Cooper from day one that I met him. Me and my wife decided to move over to Jonesboro and take that on. And, I spent 10 years over there. Now I'm at Cooper's Hawk, back with Jim, and loving every minute of it.
Ridge Point, a different golf course, and the fact that you have one type of grass on the front side and a totally different type of grass on the second nine.
Yeah,
that's hard to get used to.
The only thing I can say for that is it's a good learning tool that you get to play on two different types of grasses. But
good point.
The greens are the same kind of grass, so that's not too bad. But they just built the two different nines at different times, and so they ended up with two different grasses.
And now you're here at Cooper's Hawk in Melbourne, Arkansas, in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah. Up in the hills.
God's country.
Sure is.
If you will. This course, it looks like it's a good test of golf.
It is, yeah. We, it's been a progress for Jim. It's a family golf course that they started back in 2000, I believe. And they've been improving on it. We've now just put in some new creeks on the back nine and a waterfall features that made it a little tougher and prettied it up a little bit. So we're looking forward to this next year when grass grows in on over all the construction. And but the golf course itself is very good. I think it's one of the best in Arkansas. It's been voted best public course in Arkansas several times. So, and Jim likes to keep doing improvements. So
it'll keep improving.
Yeah, and it's getting a little tougher. It's a little longer now. It's over 7,000 yards, and really good test.
Anybody that would like to come up and play can come up and play.
Yeah, open to the public. We have members from around this area that are out every day or a few times a week, but we're getting people from St. Louis, Kansas City. A lot of people come from Missouri, so the secret's kind of getting out, and we had a pretty busy year last year.
That's good to hear.
Yeah.
Deane, best golf course you've ever played?
Best. One of my favorite courses was up in New York. Now, the name gets away from me. L.A. Riviera. Mm-hmm. Is one of the best tests of golf you'll ever play. Westchester was the one up in New York. They used to play the U.S. Open there, but being that it was landlocked, I think Now it's a little bit short for the way the game's played, and they can lengthen it. So, but it was one of those courses that was just built on the lay of the land. I mean, there's blind shots, there's rocks sticking out in the middle of the fairway. So just really a great piece of architecture, which I always appreciate. Gary Player course at Sun City, one of my favorites too. Mm-hmm. Really great test of golf. What else you got? Prettiest one? Probably Pebble Beach. I always said if I had to pay $500 to play around the golf, probably be Pebble Beach.
That's not bad. That's a great one. A little bit higher than 500 now, but
I guess since I quit, it was 500. I believe it's gone up.
Yeah, I think it has. Fantasy foursome, living or deceased, you and 3 others you would like to play around a golf with. And I'll say this: if you want to go family, you can make it a 6-some, 7-some, whatever you want to.
Yeah, one player I'd seen him play live a couple of times at the $1 Million at Sun City, was Sevillano Ballesteros. That was kind of my guy. Played with a lot of passion. Short game was unbelievable, and kind of like my game. I was never the most consistent ball striker. Drove it fairly well, but my short game probably what got me to the top, kept me in the game. But let's see, probably Jack Nicklaus, never got to play with him, and maybe Ben Hogan.
That would be a good foursome right there. Yeah. I think you'd outdrive all of them.
Not any now, but in our prime probably, yes, but not anymore. And then a guy that I got to play with that I put up there with Ben Hogan, I never saw Ben hit any balls, but he was the best ball striker. And I got to go in my time that people I've seen hit the ball, Nick Price.
Yeah.
Best ball striker I've ever seen. Maybe a fivesome.
Yeah, there you go. Pretty good player. Another South African. What does it mean to you to be going into the Arkansas State Golf Association Hall of Fame?
I think it's awesome. As a kid growing up, my target was to get to the PGA Tour, and it's pretty much all I was focused on. I never thought about getting even into the Golf Hall of Fame, just trying to achieve goals that I had set for myself. But, after a lifetime's worth of work, it's always pretty special to be recognized for what you've done, have your name go down in history. It's always pretty special.
No doubt.
Yeah.
Deane, thanks so much for the time. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you very much.
At Stevens, our philosophy is to invest every dollar as if it were our own, to seize opportunity, to anticipate rather than react, to deliver constant focus in an ever-changing world, and to pursue the objectives of our clients in order to help them reach their financial goals. A proven history of helping companies and individuals. Stevens, member NYSE SIPC.
It's Justin Acree. If you're dealing with back or neck pain, the Orthopedic and Spine Hospital at UAMS Health is here to help. Whether it's neurosurgery, orthopedic surgery, sports medicine, or pain management, their experts have you covered with the latest technology and minimally invasive techniques. They're focused on reducing your pain, improving mobility, and getting you back to doing what you love. Call 501-686-TOSH to set up an appointment today. That's 501-686-8674. The doctor will see you now.
Beechwood Pinnacle Hotel Group is the leader in the state in managing hotel properties. From El Dorado to Jonesboro to Fayetteville to Kansas City and back home in Little Rock, you will find a Beechwood Pinnacle managed hotel property. Are you looking for a weekend staycation? Book the Hilton Garden Inn located on Rock Street and enjoy the Agassi 7-rooftop bar with fantastic views of the Little Rock skyline. Open Sunday through Thursday evenings from 4 to 11 and Friday and Saturday from 5 to midnight. Find them on the web at bphotels.com. Beechwood Pinnacle Hotel Group.
That will do it for this edition of From the Shortgrass, presented by UAMS Health, Orthopedics, and Sports Medicine. I want to thank Deane Pappas for his time, taking time out of his busy schedule as he gets ready for another golfing season there at Cooper's Hawk in Melbourne. Go up and see him. You'll be glad you did. Remember, when you find your ball mark on the green, fix it and a couple of more. And I hope to see you sometime soon from the Shortgrass.
You have been listening to From the Shortgrass, presented by UAMS Health, Orthopedics, and Sports Medicine, a weekly podcast dedicated to the game of golf. This has been a presentation of the Buzz Radio Network in association with Majestic Cubby Productions.